Hi guys, and welcome to another episode of Mark and Them From Next Door. I am Mark Massett, and
I'm Alison Monroe.
And in the background we have John. Say hi, John. So we are down the line now, and we've done quite a few episodes, and we're actually quite happy with what's going on at the moment. It's Mother's Day tomorrow.
It is indeed.
It is. What have you got, your mum?
I've got my mum a nice bunch of flowers. So it's my mum's birthday today, and it's Mother's Day tomorrow. So I've got a big load of bits and pieces instead of one.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Well, I love Mother's Day. It's like that day where you really have to you see people, how much they appreciate their mums. And I really like to see that because, it's not hard. It's not easy being a mum, is it? I mean, I'm one of 5.
Are you?
One of 5, mate. Our house was chaos. So I'm the middle child, and I've got a sister, and I've got a brother older than me, and I've got 2 younger brothers as well. So, by the way, guys, the reason why I sound so sexy is because I've got a cold, and yeah.
Poor you.
I know, right? So as you can imagine, our house was chaotic. I actually don't know how my mum did it, to be fair. I mean, your mum...
Well, she only had me.
Yeah.
But that was enough.
That was enough to turn her on.
Honestly, I think I had about 4 kids in one anyway. So, but my mum was a good one. She showed me. I have got a half brother.
Okay.
From my father's side, but just growing up, it was just me and my mum. So, yeah.
I actually I think when we're talking about mums, it's quite, for some people, it's quite a touchy subject, isn't it?
It is.
I mean, sometimes you're like, oh, you talk about Mother's Day, and then someone goes, oh, my mum was or I don't have one, or my mum unfortunately passed away about 2 years ago. But I mean, the reason why our page is so strong is because of her and the way that she dealt with things. And to some people, it's like, oh, she did that. And some people like, yeah, my mum was like that as well. I mean, what was your mum like growing up?
Well, my mum, she reminds me a bit of the Mank mum. Like,
Yeah.
she was outspoken, she was gutsy, she was loud, she told me what to do. As long as I listened to her, then I was going on the right path in life. So, yeah.
Yeah.
But, yeah, she was funny. Just like your mum, like there's a few things that your mum says in the Brenda bits that I'm like, oh, yeah,
At the time, it wasn't funny.
No, of course not. But after
At the
a
time,
while,
when
you
you're a
think,
kid,
oh.
you're like, fucking hell, mum, jeez. Like,
And she wouldn't allow me to go out to like particular places at a certain time. And I was like, why, mum? But all my friends are allowed.
Yeah.
But now I'm thinking, oh, no, she was looking out for me. But at the time, I just thought
Well,
she was
no,
the
like
worst person.
some people when we were growing up, like their mums let them do everything, like stay out late, and they could do so much more. My mum was quite strict in a way, very not like strict to the point where like, you're not going out or that, but you knew not to cross my mum. Mm-hmm. You do not mess with the Mank mum. In general, in Manchester, Mank mums are very much like, you say that to me one more time and I will slap the piss out of you.
But to be fair, even when being born and raised in South London, my mum was quite similar to that as well.
Yeah.
No lip, no answering back. You just do what she says, and if you don't do it, there's consequences. So
Exactly. And I don't think that you realise until you get older why she tells you not to do certain things. And like, it's not my mum never micromanaged me. Like, it was more to do with
what do you mean micromanage?
Well, like, the discipline, the rules were like, don't cross me. Don't speak to me in a certain way. I'm not your friend. What is that banging? Sorry, ladies and gentlemen, so we're in my flat and we've got neighbours downstairs and they are
Everybody
loud.
needs good neighbours.
We've got a baby. A newborn baby.
What, they whacking the baby against the wall or something? Bloody hell.
Yeah, that's happening, Alison. Should we call the police?
Well, it's in East London, do you know what I mean? Anything can happen in East London.
You know what I mean? So the thing is that when we do these podcasts, obviously this is quite raw. So we are in my living room, as I've said before. We've got
Ironing board.
Ironing board used as a what is it? It's like a stand, isn't it?
Drinks holder, microphone holder.
Yeah. Anyway, back to what we were saying.
Yeah, so
you know, back in the day, I feel like I'm a baby of the 80s. When
I'm a 90s. I was born in 92, so.
Well, we grew up in a council estate in Manchester, and the mums back then were very different to how the mums are today. The rules were real, and the mums would gang up on you. Like, if you were taking the piss out of your mum, they would say something to you. Don't take the piss out of your mum. I remember once when I was a kid, my mum was in the park. We were all in the park, and there was this kid, and he was so naughty, and he kicked his mum. And all of a sudden, my mum went, "Aye!" And she went right over to this woman, and she was like, "Don't let him kick you. You kick her, and I'll fucking kick you." And the woman, I remember this woman was very sheepish, and I thought, obviously it was his mum. And she was like, "Do not let him do that to you again. If that's, like laying down, do not let him do that to you. You need to know do you know what I mean? Like, proper laying it down."
No, it needs to be said sometimes. Otherwise, they let these kids do what they want, and they end up being God knows what, you know?
I know.
Definitely. I think you need to make that.
But if I kicked my mum, or even I don't even the back chat.
Oh.
So in our house when we were kids, there was one room with a lock on it, and it was the bathroom. And if you were ready to give back chat, you need to make sure that the pathways are clear, so you could get to the bathroom and lock the door.
You're lucky that you had a lock. I had to hold my hands and all my body weight against my bathroom door to make sure that she wasn't coming anywhere near me.
Well,
You're lucky you had that lock.
I remember once she said something, and I went, "So, mate, I was Linford Christie going up them fucking stairs." Literally, she turned and her hair flicked. I know what's coming. Sprinted up them stairs for dear life. It was like Gladiator. And I went, ran, and I just, when you just I just locked the door, and I heard a bang. It was like literally, bang. And I thought, if she'd have got through that door, I wouldn't be here now doing this podcast. And then she said, "Open this door now. I'm going to open the door." And no, you're going to hit me. She was, "I'm not going to hit you."
Yeah, they
So why are you raging?
That's just their way to get in.
Yeah, I think
I was exactly the same. My mum there was one time that the only way of me opening the door, she had my iPod just dangling underneath like a drink that was there, and she was going to drop it in and just break my iPod, and I had to be like, God. I know, honestly, my mum was a bit savage sometimes.
Mate,
so
I think savage mums are the way forward.
Well, my mum's got me here now. She said as long as I get to 18 and I've had no criminal convictions and I'm not on any children, then
that's just pure luck.
No, I just didn't get caught, did I? But no, if I'd have got caught by the police, I would have been begging them to just keep me in so that my mum didn't get me. Because I think a criminal conviction would have been better than my mum actually taking me home. So,
Oh, my God. Like the discipline now, today.
It's nothing. You're not even allowed to hit. I know that it's...
You're not even allowed to hit your kids?
No, but sometimes I feel like a few hits here and there for me didn't go amiss, and it made me a bit more. But it made me a better person.
Look, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, we are not condoning.
I'm not condoning
any kind
hitting,
of physical violence towards your children.
There's times and places where it needs to be done, and I feel like a lot of children are taking the piss out of their parents at the moment. I
think
and
when you put into the equation a physical slap, it okays the crazies. Do you know what I mean? I would, I'm never going to have kids, but if I did,
I
just don't want him.
Really?
No, I don't
Yeah,
want
but
him.
you're seeing someone. What about if the other half that you're seeing
He
wants
doesn't.
kids?
He doesn't.
He doesn't at all.
No, I'm in my. Listen, I'm way past that.
Well, when I have a kid, you'll be uncle anyway. So
Oh,
you've got a
great!
kid
I
there.
can't wait.
I'll have a cute baby. You'll be fine. You'll like it. You'll like it. It's fine.
No, I think when we grew up, I grew up in the 80s, and back then, even the teachers could give you a slap, and that would never fly now. And what's happened is when you okay any kind of physical discipline, some people do not know when to stop, and you forget they're adults, they're children, so you have to remember, a tap on the arse is not always. Sometimes you forget a full force slap on a little child.
Yeah, it's not.
It's not good.
It's,
So we're going a bit deep there, ladies and gentlemen.
Let's move on.
But I mean,
There's
I got a slap.
no, but-
I got a slap, and I think it was more to do. My mum never went too far with me. I think it was more to do with like, if we never really crossed the line, but if it was like an instantaneous thing, like you know what I mean? And I think now even the slightest kind of slap would put you in care.
It's bad though.
I
I think it is bad because there's some children. I feel a bit mean by saying this, but some kids need to have a little like.
Yeah. Do you know when you watch?
To the
I mean,
system.
when you see these kind of, I think you're coming from an adult point of view. So if you see these kids and they're proper tantruming, I've seen some things on Super Nanny and stuff like that, and you just think of how your mom would have dealt with the situation. And I think a lot of people, especially like there was a lot of Jamaican people in my estate, and you do not mess with a Jamaican mom.
No, but when I used to go to school, majority of the people that were in my school were Jamaican, and when I used to tell them about the times when me and my mum would have a row, they used to be like, bloody hell, like,
oh my God.
Yeah, and my mum used to outbeat Jamaican mums, I don't care.
Like, mate, but my mum was very similar to that, like
Yeah, but
she was
don't
the
take
boss.
Any shit.
She was the boss.
Yeah, good. You have to be.
And
You
it
run
was-
that household.
Yeah.
You need to be the boss.
And I think one of the most things, I think when I said to her, like, soz, do you remember soz?
Yeah.
And my mum skitzed at me once, she went, what do you mean, soz? And I was like stunned. And I was like, she went, you mean sorry? She came up to me real close, she went, I'm not your mate. And I was a bit like, okay. But it was just more to do with like, I think you have to, what mums have to do, what in my day, I'm not a mum, but what they do is they create. I'm just saying, you know what the council culture is like. Who are you trying to tell us mums how to do stuff? But what I'm saying from my experience, that if you try to be your kid's mate, it can go left very, very quickly, and then you've got kids taking a piss out of you.
Yeah.
And that my mum was very touchy with her boundaries. Do not take the piss, because you will be sorry.
Yeah.
I will. And my mum, I would say this was one of her strongest points. She was very stubborn. You could not win with my mum. And I think that's what's lacking today. Like, I think mums generally, they go with the softer route, but they don't hold.
They haven't got the fire in them anymore.
Well, they're just not stubborn enough.
No.
Like, if my mum said that you were being, not necessarily, like, if you were grounded, you were grounded. I don't want, if you try anything.
I was always grounded.
I was grounded, mate. No, the thing is, I was always out. Actually, no, I'll take that back. There was threats of being grounded, and I love my freedom. I've always loved my freedom. But when someone says, I'm going to take that away from you, I'm like, okay, the worst thing you could have done to me as a kid is keep me indoors.
Mum was taking my mobile phone. But my mum
remind her there was no mobile phones.
My mum always found something wrong with anything just before the summer holidays.
Okay.
So my mum used to own her own business. It was like sending, as I've said before, like this junk mail. And whenever she used to find things, it was just before half term, and she used to basically just have me as labour for most of the half term. Then 2 weeks before half term finished, I would then be allowed out, and it would be fine. But it took, But then she would do it so that I would have money for that last 2 weeks. But she always found like cigarettes in my bag or something really major that.
When did you start smoking?
Oh, quite young. I'm not saying it online. I'm definitely not.
Say it.
No, because it's disgusting.
Say it.
I would say, I don't want to. It's so bad.
10.
No. About 12. 11 going on to 12. So I've been smoking. No, but it's really bad. But I need to really like cut down a bit. But I've literally been smoking for more times I've been alive, non-smoking, than when I have been smoking.
So I got a call. So I was smoking at school, thinking I was a big shot. And the blessing is I don't have an addictive personality, so I can do things and just leave them. So I was smoking to be cool. Because everyone was all the good,
we were all doing it to be
but
cool.
all the cool kids were smoking.
Yeah.
And I got caught once with a fag in my mouth, and the teacher pulled up in her car, and she phoned my mum, and she was like, "Yes, your son has been caught smoking. He's in detention." And her reaction was he in school? And she was, "No." So. And I was a bit like, okay, like, she goes, I will discipline him.
That's quite good though.
The thing is, like, everyone in my family smoked, and my mum says she smoked. She started smoking when she was 11. So this is no difference, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
so
but all my mum wanted was me not to smoke.
yeah, I mean, but the thing is, with what she was phoning her for was saying that we're doing a discipline. I was in detention. She couldn't get away from that. I came home that day. She went, "You've been smoking?" And I was like, "Yeah." I said, "Only had one though." And she was like, "Well, I can't stop you." And she goes, "But do you want to smoke?" And I was like, "Right." And she said to me like, "Well, if you're gonna do it, but I can't stop. I just can't stop you."
I wish my mum.
And she gave me a roll up, and she went, "Smoke it." And I was so sick. I've never smoked a roll up in my life. I was smoking a cigarette, and it was like a silk cut or something like that. Really light. And I was sick. And she was like, "Do you still want to smoke?" And I was like, "Yeah." And I didn't. Do you know what? Have you heard? I remember once someone got caught smoking, and they made them smoke a whole pack of cigarettes, and they were so ill. They would, like, as punishment, if you want to smoke, this was the 80s. Things were done differently then. And they made them smoke a whole pack of cigarettes, and one after the other.
That's what happened to my mum. My mum, when she got caught by her parents, I think she told me that she had to smoke.
Yeah, that was the thing. That was like it. That was like
put you off.
To put you off.
Yeah, definitely.
Did it? No.
My mum used, honestly.
I know. I was sick.
No, but there was this time that I went to. I had just had my GCSE results. I was going to Reading Festival. It was like my first festival, and it was like the first thing I'd done away from home, kind of thing. And I brought some fags back with me, and I went to sleep because I'd been up like for 3 days straight, basically.
Why was that, Alison?
I don't know. And anyway, so I went to sleep, and I left all my bag, and I had fags in there. And I remember waking up like a few hours later or whenever it was, and I came downstairs, and that was the time when you had a computer in the living room. There was no laptops or anything, and I switched the computer on, and my mum was like, "Don't think you should be doing that, should you?" And I was just like, "Oh, why?" She was like, "I've been in your bag." And then that's when I know my heart drops. The minute that anything to do with smoking happenings, I know that there's something bad about to happen. And I just got grounded.
Why was she going for your bag?
Because she was getting rid of all the things from like to wash from the festival that I literally, my mum said I smelled like a polecat. Like I literally just used to sit next to the fire. Like there was a big bonfire and everyone was throwing like their mattresses and stuff on this like plastic mattresses, and there was all black smoke everywhere, and I just stunk. And so yeah, my mum was trying to get rid of the smell in the house, me, and yeah, found fags, and that was it. I was a no-go zone for a little while. People used to just not hear from me.
Yeah.
So I'd be on my phone, and then all of a sudden, my mum used to take my phone. That was it. You would not see me.
If you went silent now, social media, your mates on social media would be putting out,
Help.
"She's gone missing."
No, but that's what they used to do. They used to message each other and be like, "Right, shall we all just go to Alison's house and try and get her out?" But it never happened. My mum would be like, "No."
So you were brought up in a different time from me. There was none of that.
Yeah, we
Like,
didn't have chalkboards in my day.
well, yeah, it's a whole different kettle of fish. Like, I think, to be honest though, the mums on our estate were very similar. And if you were being punished or if you were being disciplined, all the mums would totally agree with it. They all backed each other up because they were from the same place and they were trying to convey the same message to their kids. See what happened to Mark? He's been in for 2 weeks. You do that and you're doing the same. You know what I mean? So it was kind of different in our, and also, but I was very lucky on our estate. There were so many kids my age. They were all in my year. They were in my class, and even if they were, even if they weren't, they would have been not too far. So you could hang around with who you wanted. Sometimes I'd hang around with girls. Sometimes I'd hang around with the boys. It depends on how you were feeling. But there was always someone knocking on my door saying, "Is Mark coming out?"
Oh, I had a few like that, but I wasn't surrounded by loads of people.
Was you not?
No, not really.
No, this is why I say, like, I know when we grew up, guys, and this is not a sub story, we did not have a lot. I'd say we were basically poor, you know. So when you look back and everyone's like, oh yeah, poor, but I was very, very lucky because I had kids and we had imaginations. We didn't need an iPad, we didn't need a computer. And I think that people knocking on my door, my mum knew the one way I can get you to do what I want you to do is threaten to take away your going out privileges.
Fair enough.
And she fucking did.
I lived on a main road, so there wasn't many kids everywhere. There was a few. I had like a few neighbours and everything, but there wasn't anything like how big your community was. And I was never allowed in anyone's house because I only knew them from around the area. My mum didn't know their families, so my mum wouldn't allow me to go in. I was allowed to play on the street, but the minute I stepped over their like fence, I was crossing a boundary with my mum, so I wasn't allowed to do it. And there was one time I went into someone's front garden and I didn't know that she was standing at the end of the road. And then she saw me walk in. She just stood and she put her hands on her hips and just looked at me.
Yeah.
And came to the front.
Do you know what the other thing is, like, all mums have is the death stare.
Yeah.
It's like if you say something in a public place and she does not like it, she'll just give you that.
Or hold your hand.
Or squeeze it
really tight. And you just be like, oh, this is really hurting. Please don't.
we were in the shop. It was Gateway. That was an 80s thing. Gateway. It was like Quick Save, Gateway. It was like it's like a co-op kind of thing.
Right.
Like Tesco, but Chavia. And we had. I remember. I can't remember what I was doing, but my mum held my hand. And she squeezed it so hard as if to say, "Shut up." And I remember going, "Mum, you're hurting me." She was like, "What do you mean?" With this like look on her face as if to say, I'm not. But it was that moment. Or if you're out, they'd be like that that deadly whisper of, "Wait till you get home."
Yeah, oh, I know. So good. Like, let's just stay out for as long as possible, please.
Today, that would be like, that is so unacceptable. That is, that is threatening. And my child, it is a total, like, then and now
funny.
Could not be so different, any more different. The naughty stare. Mate, my mum started from the top and worked her way down. You'd work your way down. I think the thing is in our family, like, you need to be a fast runner. You need to know how to dodge a shoe or anything that was thrown at you. And all the while, like, I just know that this is going to get like, your mum was abusive, and it was just how things were. I never really saw it as abuse. I just think that it was back in the day. Yep. Can you imagine that going down? Like a kid going to school now, my mum threw a shoe at me. You'd be in care?
It's true.
Up for adoption?
I just think that my mum had a lot to deal with me because first of all, I'm loud anyway.
Was you naughty?
Well, I was in and out of hospital a lot.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I have a bad hip and that. So I never really. There was times at school that I used to literally go to hospital every single day, and my mum had to come with me every single day.
Yeah.
So I did feel bad. She's had to go through a lot with me, and then I've been like a bit of a troublesome teenager as well. So
Yeah.
she deserves an award, my mum. I feel. Like.
Yeah, I think, when there was a lot of us, and my two younger brothers, one of them's not naughty anymore, but one of them was so bad. Like, every time there was a knock at the door, it would always be about, your kids are doing X, Y, Z, and it was like, ugh. My mum used to say, I prefer it when they're in, because I know what they're doing. For me, I'd be out just playing, be fine, but with them too. Simon, not you, but well, you were naughty as a kid, but like, Simon's proper mellow now. Simon, my little brother Simon, but the other one, he's never really learned. He's in prison now.
Is he?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, he's a naughty boy. I mean, we couldn't be more different if he tried, but I think that was he's just, I don't know, mate. He's born naughty.
Was he the oldest?
No, he was the one down from me.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Was he the youngest of the boys?
No, so Simon's the youngest of the boys. Simon is like
Is Simon the guy that you,
his
your
best
brother
man.
that you went, yeah,
I was his best man.
Right.
Yeah, so we got on like a house on fire. He's the kindest person I've known. He's very soft, very sweet. But when he was a kid, he was naughty as fuck.
Well, you go through them stages.
Yeah, I mean,
I
I'm
still like
talking
it.
like 5, 6. It was a nightmare.
Wow. 5, 6 is nothing. That's fine. But when you're 5, 6, you're still.
What, smashing a window?
Well, he probably didn't mean it to harm. Do you know what I mean? He's 5. Why is he out smashing windows anyway? My mum never let me out when I was 5 years old. It's far too young.
Yeah, because you were not. Well,
I grew up in London.
Yeah, but we had an
different.
estate. We could go out, and also they were not too far. They were always with kids. So you're really close with your mum.
Yes.
And some would say you have like a closer relationship than other people.
Well, I feel like
You phone each other
mums.
every day.
Yeah.
You hang out together
When I can.
when you can.
My mum lives like.
Your mum is your best friend, would you say?
I've got Harley, so it's a close between. I've got my Harley and I've got my mum.
Yeah.
But my mum's always.
Who's Harley, by the way?
Harley is one of my best friends. She moved recently to Perth, Australia. She tried to get away from me to the other side of the country, but me and my mum are very good friends. I see her as much as I can. My mum's not very well at the moment, so I'm making sure that I'm there as much as I can see her. But she's always the person that I've always turned to. She knows everything about me.
Yeah.
She's always helped me out with a team.
Yeah.
So, and I love my mum a lot for that. But as I was growing up, I didn't see... We were close, but we weren't as close as we are since I've moved out of the house.
Right.
We didn't really get along. We bumped heads a lot when I was growing up.
So the difference between me and you is that my mum didn't really know that much about me. Like,
Same.
I would never, I never told her anything. And she, even older, I just I did things differently from you because there was a lot more of us. So I could sort of hide in the background.
But I hid when I was growing up, like living in her house, because I used to lie to her. My whole life was a bit of a lie to her. I used to tell her that I used to go to college till like 10 o'clock at night, and she used to believe me. Like 8, 9, 10 o'clock. I used to go to college and then I used to come home and I used to go out with friends. Because if I told... No, but if I told my mum...
What were you telling you were doing?
But so basically, I was doing an adult course. So I did radio at college, and it was a over 19s course. So I used to say to her that a lot of people are mums that were in my course. So they used to do a bit in the morning and then a big gap in the middle, like for break time, picking up your kids, and then go back in the evening for the rest of the class.
Okay.
So I made it believable. Like I wasn't like going, oh yeah, I'm in till 10. But then I used to be able to go out with my friends because I wasn't allowed to go out with my friends on a weekday, and I always wanted to. So I always used to come back.
How old was you?
So what? I finished
at college.
school at
You would have
16,
been like, you weren't allowed out.
18. I was allowed out on certain times, but I wasn't allowed out every evening, and I was never allowed out on a Sunday. Well, exactly. And I used
Did
to I used to have
ya?
a bottle of wine. I used to get drunk, but it used to be fine. That was okay. And
Did your what? So when was the first time that your mum caught you being drunk?
I was allowed to be drunk.
Was you?
Yeah. So my mum just didn't want me to do drugs and didn't want me to smoke. That was the only thing. So I was allowed to. My mum used to buy me alcohol. I was allowed to do that.
Your mum used to buy alcohol.
Yeah, I used to be big into sambuca, so mum would buy me a bottle of sambuca here and there, and that was me on my night out.
How old?
Definitely before I was 18, probably like year 10, year 11, year 12, and that. So 14, 15, 16.
God, you're so. So I remember once I got drunk on the park with a bottle of Strongbow and a bottle of 2020, and I would say I was 14, and all my friends were like 15, 16, 17, so and they were a little bit a bit chavvy, not gonna lie, but I was pissed, and I came in. I thought if my mum sees this, I'm done for. So I thought to myself, I'm gonna leave. She allowed. I said I was going to a party. I wasn't. I was in the park. I think it was 15. I'd say let's go 15. And
13 and a half.
I was 12. And I thought, you know what? I'll time it right. So what happens is like they're all watching telly, and so you come in the door and the staircase is just there. So I thought I'll go in and say, I'm going to bed, and go straight up the stairs. so I was drunk, and I came through the door, and my mum was just coming out of the kitchen. That you could see the front door. And she had 2 cups of tea for her and her husband. And she came in, and just as I opened the door, I thought, so okay, I'm going to bed. She went, wait. And she went into the living room. She put the cups of tea down. She went, you're drunk. I was like, and just as she was saying it, I think it was the adrenaline and the fear. I thought, I'm going to be sick. I said, I'm going to bed. I walked up the stairs and...
Oh.
And do you know... As I was being sick on the stairs, my mum was slapping me. Stop it! Stop it! I'm like this. Like, I couldn't feel the top of my head. And I was vomiting. It was not good. And it stank.
Oh.
You know, when you've had like alcohol, the vomit is
rotten.
So bad.
No, do you know what? I've had a time similar to that. I came in, but when I came in, the living room was in front, and there was just like a door frame. And I remember getting in, and I held the door frame, and Mum was like, "You all right?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm fine." And I'm holding, and she was like, holding onto this door frame with all my life. And she was like, let go. So I let go, and I held the one behind me. And she was like, stand in the middle of the floor. And as I stand in the middle of the floor, I just smacked and just fell straight head first into the middle of the floor. And she was like, right, get upstairs now.
Oh, my God.
And that was it. That was fine.
I just remember being sick, and then she got the mop bucket, and she went, clean up! So I was like, I think I was like, I had a cloth, but I was literally scooping the sick into the mop bucket with my hands. Oh, she's hitting me. She's like, it wasn't, don't get me wrong, she wasn't punching the shit out of me. It was like, I was so drunk I couldn't even feel it. And she was like, I can't believe it. You're getting on more. You're moving it around. And I was like, I just gave up. I went to bed. I thought, you know what, you can beat the shit out of me. I don't care.
Yeah,
I don't care.
The morning, I don't
where's
care.
the bed? Where's the bed? I got into bed, obviously, and I thought it was like, I think it was about 6 o'clock in the morning. The door opened, and she went. The covers were ripped off me, and she went, get up now. This house fucking stinks. We're going out.
Chunks everywhere.
Yeah, and she had the same mop bucket. Obviously, she'd rinsed it out. And I had in the morning. I've never had like the hangover that my head was pounding, and I had this I had fairy liquid, and I was washing it. I had Flora, and I was just like cleaning it up, and it was like, oh my god. And I was like, as I'm cleaning it up, I'm being sick in the mop bucket. And it was probably the worst, because I was still pretty drunk from the night before, and I just thought I can't ever get drunk again while I'm living in my mum's house.
I used to be the worst when I used to be sick, because I would wake my mum up in the middle of the night, even if I was drunk or not, wake my mum up to be like, help me, please. And she was too busy being sleeping. So I would be like, right. And there was so many times where I used to just be sick in the sink, because that would be the first thing I could get to. And then I'd just go back to sleep, and we'd wake up to loads of chunks and stuff in the sink. Honestly, it was disgusting. Now I think of it and I'm like, that's so grim, Alison. But at that time, I'd be like, well, if you're not helping me,
it
you
is
can
what
help
it
me
is.
in the morning. So yeah, that was it wasn't very nice.
No. I think after that, I was more aware that you're not an adult yet, and there's rules. I mean, have you ever moved back?
No. I left when I was 18 to go to university.
Same.
But while I was at university, my mum moved from London to Hastings.
Yeah.
And as much as I love Hastings, Hastings isn't the town for me just yet.
Right.
It's very slow. It's like buses.
You're a young girl, love. You're a young girl in a young
buses run
world.
till about 6 o'clock on a Sunday, and they don't start till Monday morning. And that's just not I don't currently drive. So public transport's a lot to me, and if I was in Hastings, I wouldn't be able to live. I'd be constantly taxiing everywhere.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I think, well, when you're in London, there's no point driving at all.
No, I have buses literally outside my house 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, all the time. So what's the point?
Well, I moved back. So I was in London for about 7 years. And
I was so gutted when you went back to Manchester.
Do you remember?
I
so
do.
I came to London, and I broke up with my boyfriend at that time, and I felt like everything was just crumbling down. Nothing was right, and we were working together in Fly, and I was like, I was waitering at the time, trying to be an actor, and I just felt like my life was just shit. I think it was more to do with breaking up and feeling like I didn't really have anything left, or it was just one of those moments like, why am I here? It's so expensive here. Everyone, at the time, I was like, everyone's just so unavailable. I'm on my own, and there's extreme loneliness. And I was like, you know what? I could go home. It could be a lot easier if I went back to Manchester, and I did. I thought, you know what, I'm going back to Manchester.
I was like, please don't go, please. Dragging my hands and your legs up, please. Trying to make any plans.
To be fair, I would say you were the only one who was like, don't go back to Manchester. Please don't.
And I stayed in contact with you all the way through Manchester.
You were I'd say there was two of you who literally were like, what's going on? Do you know? But when you're out of the picture, sometimes you are literally invisible. But when I was there, I moved back. So I moved back in with my mum, and I was in the spare room. How old
you
was
wasn't very happy.
I was not.
Wasn't very happy.
But I wasn't happy because I think I'd made the wrong move. Now I love Manchester. Manchester is my heart and soul. But he wants to be down south.
I
do want to be down south,
yeah.
But it's not that one's better than the other. It's just that I work better here.
Well, you got more opportunity. Not being horrible, I feel like you got more opportunities in London. There's a lot more going on in London.
for the stuff that I want to do.
Yeah, with acting.
Yeah,
and getting yourself out there.
Because that was the reason why I came here. I came here to be an actor. And, I told everyone I'm going to be an actor. I'm going to be in London. And it was like audition. And
But you used to get quite a few
I was
things.
doing all right. I was doing fine. I think the pinnacle was when I went to New York and we were at Tribeca. And, you got Americans with microphones in your face going, so how do you feel like being in New York? And and I was like, oh, my God, I feel great, And then you felt like a kind of a celebrity, I guess. And I thought, yeah, I've made it. I think this is it. This is the point where this is what I've worked towards. And the film was, it was all right. I mean,
what was the film?
it was
Tell us
it was all. To be honest, it was an American director, and it worked out fine. The film was okay. It was a bit all over the show. It was a bit of a required taste. It was like.
Yeah, tell us what the title was.
I don't know. Like it was called Culture Shock, and you can only stream it.
On what?
I don't know. That's the
I'm
thing.
gonna
I don't
have to
know.
look this
I
up.
don't
I need
know.
to add this to
It was
my
called
list.
Culture Shock, and
And how old were you? Sorry.
I think I was about 30. I think I was still in a relationship then. It was like about 30. And you just think to yourself, wow, I actually had one of the members of the Go-Go's in my house. So you don't know who Go-Go's is. So you remember, Belinda Carlisle?
No.
Heaven is a place on earth. Ooh,
Oh,
baby, do you know what that's worth?
Yeah.
Ooh, heaven is a place on earth.
Oh, here we go.
That song. And so Belinda Carlisle came from a group called the Go-Go's. And there was one of the Go-Go's, I think her name is Jane. And I didn't really know much about her. She sang, I don't know what she sang, but she was famous in the 80s, and she was in my house eating my food. I'd cooked for the whole cast.
What did you cook?
Oh, I'd made like a cold pasta salad and stuff. It wasn't the best food. I ain't the best cook.
Yeah, I was about to say.
Yeah.
What the hell did you cook then?
But they, she did a scene in my bedroom. It was weird. It was a weird film. And it didn't do anything. But when you're trying to be an actor, you think, oh wow, and you're in New York, and Americans, if they see someone who's a British actor and they've just been to see the premiere of your film, so they see things differently than English people. They think, oh my God, who are you? I want to know more. They do it totally different from here. And I thought, this is it for me. I think this is it. I came back to England. I came back to London. I had my manager calling me going, can you do this shift, that shift?
No, I'm not available. I'm a movie star now. Sorry. No.
And I had this moment of I feel like, okay, I need the money. I'm in London. So 1 minute you've got these people, American people are so enthusiastic about the craft going, so what's your next project? And I was
working in a restaurant in London.
and next thing you're like, do you want fries with that? So I was like, it was a crash landing, to be honest.
Oh.
And I broke up with my boyfriend, and it was, I would never say that I suffer from depression, but I did have a depressive moment, and I thought nothing's right here, and I felt I failed, completely failed. And I thought, I'm going back to Manchester. I'm going to buy a house. I'm going to live like a footballer because it's cheaper. Went back to my mum's house, and I literally turned into the 14-year-old that I'd left. The thing is, when you go home, the rules never change in your mum's house. And I mean everything. She might treat you like an adult, but what I got was, where are you going?
Yeah, are you home for dinner?
Yeah.
Do you want dinner?
Are you home for dinner? Yeah. Oh no, I'm going out for dinner. Okay, so do you want me to buy you something for dinner? I said I'm going out for dinner. Okay, cool. So we're getting chippy tonight. Do you want a chippy? I'm going to be out for dinner. And then you go out, you get pissed, and there'll be a fucking chippy in this microwave.
Thank God for that.
And I would eat it with bread. So, and then also, when I came back, she was like, right, what washing have you got? I said, Mum, I'm a grown man.
I can do my own
own washing. By the end, I was like, Mum, is my washing done? Do you know what I mean?
ironed it
and
yet?
it was done. It was done. And I think because I'm not sure about any other mum, but for her, it was more to do with it was a role. She'd brought up 5 of us, and there was definitely this job that I think like, because my mum liked to drink when she was young, when we were kids. I think there was like, I think she felt like she'd missed out on a few things as well. Like she didn't do a proper job. So my mum made the most effort later. Do you know what I mean? Like we were talking about discipline, and sometimes I think, there's as much as your mum disciplines you, I do believe that maybe I shouldn't have done that.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Do you know what I mean?
Because the next day or so, she'll be extra nice.
Yeah, maybe I was a bit too hard on them or whatnot, and I think it's like, I never really expected anything from my mum, but she just did it. And that tells me, that's a good person. That's a mum. It's in her. She wasn't. I'm gonna tell you now. My mum never planned. I know she had fucking 5 of us, but she didn't ever see herself as being a mum. But back in the day, if you weren't a mum, if you weren't in a relationship, it was up and down. Like, oh, she's one of them. She's a nightlife kind of girl, and she was. My mum was a party girl back in the day. And she was 22 when she had my sister.
Was that your first?
That was my older sister, yeah. And I think she said to me, everyone was so surprised I had Monica at 22 because they thought I was going to be pregnant at 15.
Oh, really?
Because she was always out. She was a good time girl. She liked to drink. She's a bit... I think that me and my mum are very, very similar. Very similar. And I think that's why I was kind of, as a middle child... I was left alone because my mum knew that I could handle myself. The boys, I think the men in my family, don't cope very well without a motherly figure. Do you know what I mean? So they always lean towards a woman. And obviously being a gay man, I don't lean. I have lots of female friends.
You got your own girl.
Yeah, I've got my girl, but I don't lean on you. You know what I mean? I would never tell Alison, like, I need this. You're just there. And I think I choose my friends, maybe subconsciously, maybe differently, but that have a strong will because that's what I'm used to. My mum was very strong-willed. You could not mess with her. When she said something, you said it was done. Do you know one thing I will say about my mums from my day? They would stick up for you left, right, and centre. They would be the lioness. You mess with you don't fucking talk to my kids like that. You got something to say to my kids, you come to me. And then when it was internal family, they were little kittens. They just let things fly. This is in my family. Like, I was like, why are you taking that from? Because it's family.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? That's what you do. And it's
Blood.
like, but if they're on the outside, that would never fly. I never understood that. I was talking to my mate Alan, who's now is Australia. Shout out to Alan. But he's the only one that I've really discussed this with because his mum, Sue Dawson, hey girl, he was like saying that anyone else on the exterior that came for the family, they were literally Karate Kid. Do not mess with my family. But when it was internal, when it was a family thing, a DNA thing, it wasn't the same. They let shit fly. And I'm like, this is where you need to be that person because family do take the piss.
If they've grown up together, it's different than being friends with a person, isn't it?
What do you mean?
Well, you've been since you were a child.
I'm talking about relatives like aunties and uncles and stuff like that. It was always like, keep it in the family. You allow certain things to happen because we're all the same blood. And like for me, like the family takes the piss the most. Like you can fight off anyone.
You can pick your fat friends. You can't pick your family at the end of the day.
What does that mean, though?
Well, I didn't have a very big family, so there was nothing really that my mum had to consult with other people in the family to do anything. It was just me and my mum. So when you're saying, that other family members have spoken differently, I don't really understand what you mean.
Okay. So I'm from a big, I'd say big, because my mum had a lot of brothers and sisters, so they have their children and stuff like that. It was very dysfunctional. Not a lot of them spoke to each other. There was a lot of break-offs. There was a lot of people not speaking to each other. My sister, we met a few of our cousins from at a funeral that we'd not spoken to in a long time. And then we all got on like a house on fire. And it's like, why have we never seen each other? It's because the generation before
Hate each other.
Yeah, and so they keep, you keep each other away. I've got cousins, I swear to God, they're just so nice. So nice. And it's like, it's weird. It's weird because we've never had the chance to sort of grow up together because of their issues before.
Mm-hmm. But you're probably the same person, just with different views, mum and dad wise.
Exactly.
How did you come out to your mum then?
Well, so...
Was she shocked, first
no,
of all?
what she thought.
Didn't you tell me once of all that you did like a talent competition where you dressed up as Madonna?
I didn't know. I didn't dress up as Madonna. I did.
Song of Madonna.
I did it. I did Express Yourself, Madonna from the Blonde.
She must have knew from that day.
But she never saw it.
Oh, she didn't see it.
She never saw it. So, but I used to play with dolls when I was a kid.
No, actually,
I had Barbies. I had Cindy. And when I asked, but the best thing about my mum was when if I asked for a doll, I think the first time was a bit like, okay, but she got me. She got me it. She got me a doll, and I was playing with dolls the whole time. And I think she was very defensive about. So, for instance, we went to this shop and I saw a doll. It was a princess doll, and I was like, I want that doll. And the shopkeeper was like, always one of them.
Oh,
and my mum went, what did you just say?
good.
And she was like, oh, nothing. Like, nothing. Like, my mum shocked this woman into fear. And so she was like, oh, nothing. Anyway, she got me the doll. I think my mum didn't have enough money, but she got it just out of the principle that this woman said it's one of them.
Was it? Do you know how was it on Little Britain where they were going? He's a gay man now.
He's a gay man. No, my mum was never. No, my mum was never that woman. My mum was never like.
Did you hang out with more girls than you did boys?
All the time. It was all girls. I
told you. I knew from there.
But on our estate, there was so many kids that I could choose. Sometimes I wouldn't hang around with the girls. Sometimes the girls pissed me off. So I'm being a boy today. But
I hang out with the men.
But all the guys, all my mates, this sounds weird, but they all knew that I played with dolls.
And they were fine?
We were kids. Kids don't care. You know what I mean? People say, oh, you could have got bullied. Like, we were on an estate, and I was there's a guy called Dwayne Chin, if you watch him, and he was tough, and I think he was like, we got on really well, and he never ever said like, oh, he plays with dolls, is a this, is a that. It was just, we just had a lot of fun hanging out together on bikes and stuff, but it was that kind of like diversity. Everyone was in the same boat. I never really had to come out to my mum, but I did.
Did you, before you came out to your mum, was there anyone in your area that knew and approached you saying, oh, are you gay?
Because gay wasn't... No, because I was 18. So by the time I was 18, I was out of that.
Oh, so it was 18 when you came out
Yeah, we moved out of that area.
Quite a late age, to be fair.
Well, it is now.
Well, yeah. How old were you when you knew that you...
I always knew.
Yeah?
There was no...
Even at school,
I knew that I was different. And my mum knew I was different. So that's where
and she never had a chat with you about it?
Never had a chat with... It was not a chat that needed to be had. It was more to do with,
keeping an eye on you.
Making sure I wasn't bullied.
Fine.
Making sure that I knew that being bullied wasn't acceptable. If anyone says anything, you tell me. Yeah. That kind of stuff.
Good.
And so when I came out, it was very different because...
She already knew. Yeah. She was like, oh, right, surprise. Like, okay.
So I said to my mum, like, oh, Mum, I'm gay. And she was like... So I'll tell you how it happened, right?
She's probably not trying not to smile.
So I'll tell you what it was. So there was always like money behind the clock in my mum's house. Just like spare money.
Okay.
Or
like Phil Mitchell's little saving.
No, there was like 30, 40 quid.
Okay.
And my mum, I think she spent the money. Or no, she couldn't remember whether she spent the money or she'd moved it.
Right.
So we were frantically looking at this. My mum was like, you know, sometimes she would like pocket a few. She'd hide it under the carpet. You know, she'd make sure that he didn't know where the money was. Anyway, we were looking for this money, and I was like, oh yeah, so so and so's just told his mum he's gay, and she just did not react. And so I went, yeah, so I'm gay and all. And she looked at me. She went, let's find this money.
I care more about this money than I do that you're gay. That's good.
Yeah, it was like, good. Let's find this money, and then we'll talk about it in a bit. And I was like, okay. I was not expecting that at all. And later, she was like, I knew.
Yeah.
It was nothing new. Yeah.
No.
So and then I was in a amateur dramatics group, and I went to go and do the rehearsals for this show.
Was this before you told her? That
No, this was. I told her, and then I went to the show after.
Right.
So obviously, she told her husband, stepdad. I hate saying stepdad, but he wasn't.
No, he wasn't your dad.
Yeah, he wasn't my dad. And he was. When I got back, there was like a window, and he was on the couch, and he was kind of lying with his on the couch watching TV, and I could see his face in the window when I sat on the couch. And he was looking, but he didn't know. I couldn't see him looking. I could see him through the window, and he was like, "So you're gay?" And I went, "Yeah." And, are you gonna make a brew or what?
Well, it's a lot of.
It was normalized. Strange. It was normalized. I mean, I think it was that moment where it was. There was so much going on in our family at the moment. Me being gay was the least of their problems.
Well, my cousin's gay, and my auntie and my uncle didn't take it very well.
Really?
They were like really to do with the church. They were really big in the game with the church, and when they came out, for example, apparently my mum told me that in EastEnders there was like back in the day there was like this gay couple.
Kiss?
The gay couple, yeah. So my auntie stopped watching EastEnders because of this gay kiss, and then all of a sudden she found out her son was gay, and it was a complete controversy in her family. So at least your family were just like, Thing is, make a tea. They were like, "Oh my god, my son!"
So
my son.
I come from a dodgy family, so me being gay was not.
Yeah,
the
that was
biggest
the last
shocker.
thing. Yeah, well, that's fine. Especially asking for dolls, playing with Madonna.
It was kind of like it was laid out for them.
But my cousin would like pretend. So when I remember going into my cousin's room, he had like Pamela Anderson on the wall. Like,
and she's like, "Oh my god!"
And I honestly thought, I didn't know who Pamela Anderson was at that age, and I thought that was his girlfriend. And I was like, "Oh, you got Pamela." And then when I found out, my mum was like, "Yeah, Jonathan's gay." I was like, "What? What's happened to Pamela Anderson?" Like,
you wanted to be her.
Yeah, literally. So at least they accepted you. That's nice. Like, there's a lot of people that don't.
There was no two ways about it. I had pictures of Kylie and Madonna all over my wall. I had dolls. I sometimes, like when I was a kid, like clunked around in my mum's stilettos. her best
lipstick.
No, she never wore lipstick. My mum never
not?
wore lipstick.
Really?
But no, never. She wore a lot of eye makeup. So back in the 60s and 70s, they used to do their tear line in
eyeliner, yeah.
And it was all about the lashes, so
but no lip.
Yeah, no, never.
And
any
now
lip.
these days you just have eyes and lips.
Yeah, exactly. So she was a proper 60s, well, 70s mum, but it was paved out. There was no need to come out, but you know,
to.
Yeah, and also.
So who was the person that came out in the first place?
That was a lie.
Oh, so there wasn't a guy
it was
that
a complete lie.
So it was just your.
I just wanted to see.
He came out. I'm coming out now.
Yeah, I could see her. She was scurrying around for this money, and that was like the be all and end all.
Well, that was probably the best time to say it when she's distracted.
Yeah, but I think there was one time. So I playing dolls on the grass, and I was with a load of girls, and
So
who would have thought? And there was a load of girls, and I remember, so I did a video about this. It was called Boys and Dolls. And it was this.
I don't think I've seen this video.
It was one I filmed myself, John. Do you remember? We couldn't get to each other.
Yeah, it was just before or during lockdown.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we couldn't get to each other. And it was, so basically I was playing dolls. And this woman that was 6 doors down, nowhere near us, saw me came from her house to my house and goes, "Do you know he's playing with dolls?" And my mum went, "And?" And it was just like this silence. And I remember, because I thought when she's going over and I heard what she said, I thought, I'm going to get, I think I'm, yeah, but my mum bought it from her. Even though she was coming over, I was like, I'm in trouble. I think this is wrong. And when my mum went, "And," it was that moment of like,
Clarity.
"Fuck you, bitch."
Yeah, okay, I'm okay. I'm okay.
So when I came out, it was easy. I think I'm very, very lucky. I had it so easy when it came out. There was no, because I got contact. There was like, "Are you coming out?" on Twitter, and they contacted me saying, "Would you like to do a coming out story?" But there really wasn't one. There really wasn't a coming out story because it was so fluid. It was like they already knew.
You got it good.
Yeah, I got it very good. I mean, I've heard some
I've
stuff.
heard some.
It's not
and
good.
Even going to uni and seeing people flourish at university and becoming gay, they've not been accepted in their families. So you've got it good.
Exactly. I think your mum
Very
would
good.
accept you if you were a lesbian as well, to be fair.
I know, but my mum knew from a young age
That you like
I used to drive. Apparently, my mum used to tell me because I used to say,
She's
"How
like-
did you know I wasn't a lesbian?" And she was like, "Because whenever we used to drive in the car, if there was like a young boy in the car, I'd literally be like this."
Yeah.
And that was it.
Your mum, you knew you liked the D from a
That's
very
fine.
young age.
It was fine. But as I say, my mum would have, she wouldn't have cared at all.
No.
At all.
I think, to be honest, like when I see these parents, these mums in particular, who don't accept their kids for who they are, like whatever it is, gay, bi, lesbian, trans, whatever, I think to myself, shame on you. Why the fuck did you have a child?
It's true.
You can't control the being that you've actually given birth to.
But I feel like it's more, not being sexist or anything, but I feel like it's more towards the father more than the mother. I feel like the mother kind of understands more than the father.
Yeah.
And I do see that a lot
I do.
more.
Yeah, I don't.
So, for example, when I'm with Michael, I don't know if it would be accepted the way that I would accept something.
Yeah.
Because he's quite old school. His dad was very old school, and I don't mind whatever. I've got loads of gay friends, loads of multicultural friends. I'm quite
I think
easy.
I'd say 80% of your male friends are gay.
Yeah, but that's why I was single for so long, because I was hanging around with just gay
bars.
men or lesbians. They all just thought that I was just a lesbian or, like, do you know what I mean? So I never really got to see anyone. And then when I actually ventured out there, that's when I found Michael. But at the beginning, I was hanging around with you. I was hanging around with Jodie.
Yeah.
And you just get kind of tarnished.
Well,
with
yeah,
the
they're
same
your
stick.
confidants.
Well, you know that, for example, when you see Jodie, like you would.
You
Just
know
assume,
she a lesbian.
You would just assume that I was her, and Alicia, like for example, like these lesbians that I was friends with, they looked like lesbians. So if I was with them, I just looked like their other half. So
Yeah.
I never really got.
You could be their glam girl.
Yeah, but me and Alicia were trying to get into a flat and pretend that we were lesbians because we wanted to make the living room into a bedroom. But we wanted a one-bedroom flat because it was the cheapest. So we pretended we were a lesbian couple so that we could like.
Was it? That's called gay baiting.
I just didn't care anything for a cheaper rent. You know.
Gay
what I mean?
for pay.
I'll be lesbian for cheap money. You know. I don't care.
No, but so you're right. I think the men have a more difficult time accepting. I would say a gay son because they can't connect.
Yeah.
So the guys who do accept, they're generally a loving person. They had a child for the right reason. And I always say this, like, shame on you if you had a child expecting them to do, like, take care of you. That's not what the idea is. So you've got to bring up this child and then release him up into the world. Do you know what I mean? So would you say that mums on a whole are more accepting?
Yeah, because they're more feminine anyway, and I feel like
I think they
men
love a
get
gay
bit-
son, don't they, mums? What is the one thing that your mum has taught you? Like, what's the one thing that's stuck? What have you learned from your mum? What is the thing
Well,
that...
she was very independent. She did everything on her own. So I guess that, because I moved out when I was 18 and I've been able to survive on my own and get all different jobs and everything. And
Yeah.
she's the one that was always at work She never had a sick day. I never had a sick day at school. She told me that if my arm was falling off, then I could have a sick day off school. But anything else than that, I had to go to school. So that was the kind of thing. So I've always been brought up to always go to work, always do my best, and
Yeah.
just be on the straight and narrow.
I think the one thing that my mum's taught me is you don't have to do anything you don't want to do. I think also it's more to do with do not be pushed into it, and don't let people talk down to you. Always, my mum used to always keep your head up. Do you know what? Actually, this is a fun fact. I remember my mum used to say to always keep your head up. And I was walking home from school one day, and I remember I was feeling a bit weird. I thought, mum said keep your head up, keep your head up. And my mate came. My mate was behind. He's like, Mark, guess what? What? I goes, I just found 20 quid on the floor. I was keeping my head up. I fucking missed it. I was like, I fucking hate you, mum. I swear to God, that's what I was thinking. No, but have pride. My mum had too much pride. I think she was stubborn as fuck.
Yeah, but you need that.
Sometimes you're like, just...
Especially having 5 kids.
Yeah, but sometimes not everything is a fight. Sometimes a bit of advice is stop what you're doing. You're doing the wrong thing. Right. But being a mum, being set in her ways, she was like, no, I'm not. You're my kid. I can't listen to you.
I gave birth to you.
Exactly. So I did take that away from me. And I think I do, like, especially when people talk to me in a certain way, it's a major trigger. I do not like people talking to me, down to me, for one. Also, like, sort of like patronizing. It's like, who the fuck you think you're talking to? Sorry for swearing, but it's a trigger. But who do you think you're talking to? Yeah, I heard that all the time growing up, and it was like that would rile my mum if you've spoken to her in a certain way. Game over.
Fair. Yeah, but she was a woman to be dealt with, isn't she? Woman to be not weaponed with.
I mean, I think sometimes you take away for what it is. You look at yourself now and you think, yeah, I did. She did all right, my mum. Didn't do it in the most.
My mum used to. It was more of an indoor voice with my mum, so she'd be like shouting him in, then all of a sudden the phone rings. She'd be like, hello.
Yeah.
And that was it. And then it would be like, how have you just changed?
Wait till I get my fucking hands on you.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah. I'm fine, thank you. How are you? And I'm thinking, you're not. You're just shouting at me. No. So, yeah.
But being a mum is a really hard job. I would never have kids, me personally.
I feel like I need to have kids. I need something in the future.
Yeah. So. I mean, it's not the easiest job. I would never have the patience. I don't think you ever do it right.
I don't think there's ever a right time to have kids anyway. You just got to roll with the punches.
Exactly. So that's why we have full respect, sort of like,
Big up to mums.
Big up to mums. And I think we're going to wrap it up there, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah? Mm-hmm. Yeah? All right, guys. Thank you for watching. This has been Mark and Them From Next Door. I've been Mark Massett.
I've been Alison Monroe.
And we got John in the background. Say hey. All right. So that was it. So we'll see you next time. And take care of yourself. Bye.